My name is Sarah Blichfeldt. I work at the International Center of University of Gothenburg, with part of my time devoted to the Secretariat of South Sweden. I work closely together with Carolina Catoni, who's here by my side. So the University of Gothenburg organizes this session in the framework of the Inspireurope Plus project. There is a very brief introductory presentation. And I can't operate the screen, but I get some help from the back. Yes. So can go to the next slide, actually, that has some facts about the project. And some of the main actions in Inspireurope Plus that I can mention are to coordinate and improve support for researchers at risk, provide career development opportunities, to build institutional capacity and preparedness, and to grow and diversify the support for researchers. So together with the European University Association, we're offering a whole webinar series for host institutions. These webinars are aiming to explore and discuss different aspects of hosting researchers at risk, to share best practices and identify solutions for some common challenges that host institutions meet. The idea behind is that no host institution should feel alone, because we are in fact many, and we can improve our hosting practices together. And today's webinar is about an essential part of hosting, namely the mentoring. So ideally, during the mentoring or through the mentoring, a researcher at risk will be equipped to navigate a new reality and able to grow and define priorities in the future career. So recognizing that the mentoring is such a crucial part of hosting, we wish to discuss and understand better how host institutions can prepare and provide necessary support for the mentors and the full range of mentoring efforts. So we recognize that the academic mentoring is a very important part of the puzzle, but there are also other pieces. We're honored to have three great speakers with us today. And they happen to be online, all of them. And I will introduce them in a minute. Can imagine that they're sitting here next to me. They represent different roles and experiences regarding mentoring. So you can go forward in the presentation. There's a slide with the speaker names, the next one. So Marit is a senior advisor in the Department of Research and Innovation Administration at the University of Oslo. She's a SAR institutional contact person, and she has been involved in the reception of more than 25 SAR scholars. Francesca Helm is a researcher at the Department of Political Science, Law and International Studies at the University of Padova. She was part of the coordination of SAR Italy since its inception, and she has received a number of researchers at risk in her own department. And we also have a PSI scholar with us today, and I will refer to him, it's a former PSI scholar, I will refer to him as a PSI alumnus. Welcome to all our speakers. So each speaker will give a presentation of approximately 10 minutes. This will give us about 15 minutes towards the end for follow-up discussions and questions and a joint discussion. So just a few housekeeping rules for mainly for those participating online. You can please keep your sound off during the webinar, except if you are the speaker. And the camera is optional, but just remember we are being recorded. So if you have your camera on, you will also be in the recording. In case you have questions, for those in Zoom, you can write them in the chat. And if you're on site here in Berlin, you can raise your hand, and then you know you need to put on the microphone when you speak. So now it's time to pass the word and the screen to Marit.
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you very much. I will have a presentation from the University of Oslo. I'll take up my presentation first. So, my name is Marit Egner. As it was said, I'm the institutional contact person at the University of Oslo. And this means that I see this topic that we're working on from the central perspective from the university. I will just mention firstly that we are currently doing an evaluation of our reception of SAR scholars. And unfortunately, I can't give you the results yet because they're in the middle of doing this. But maybe next time I will tell about that. So what I can tell you when it comes to mentoring and what is happening in the host departments, this will be based on what I have learned from both the host units and from the scholars themselves. So there are many roles involved in hosting a SAR scholar. At the central level, we have the institutional contact persons, and sometimes there is also a SAR committee that will oversee the work of the institution and also maybe be connected to the selection of candidates, etc. At the University of Oslo, we do also have the International Staff Mobility Office that's in the HR department, and they're working on many things like immigration and also finding housing and assisting with family needs, etc. At the central level, we can learn a lot from receiving many SAR scholars. When we come to the host unit, they can use experience from receiving many international scholars, but maybe not so much experience with other SAR scholars unless they have received scholars before. And there we have the head of department, the head of administration, various HR support, and of course colleagues, and not least the mentor. Every SAR scholar should have a mentor. I think this is the same at most other SAR members. And then we have this big issue that is kind of not exactly the responsibility of the university, but also, and that's everything that is not formally the university responsibility, but everything that has to do with life outside the work, etc. And here, of course, the department and also the central level will be involved in some of it, but we also think of how can we use other sources for informal knowledge, like this could be like, where do you go to buy your vegetables, and how do you get your phone working in the best way, where do you find new friends, etc. And for this, we see that often a colleague, maybe another SAR scholar or an ex-SAR scholar could be a good solution. So first, I'll just mention a few things from the work that we do when the scholar is coming. Of course, there's a lot of practical preparations, and for this, a lot is done at the central level, but also some at the host unit. I will not use much time on this, but this is about the contract, the housing, immigration. Do the scholar have any money on arrival? What do we do about security, etc. So this is there's a lot of communication on this. I can answer questions to this afterwards, but I will not use much time on it now. And then for the welcome phase, of course, then the host unit will be important. And the welcome phase is very much as for other international scholars coming, but there are some extra needs, for example, relating to safety and maybe a need for rest after being in a very stressful situation before. And of course, there is also additional needs if the scholar brings a family. So this was very short. When it comes to how to make the most out of the stay, I think all the different people that I mentioned before, all the different roles can be involved in more or less. But the academic mentor is very important when it comes to the academic activities and also networking in the department, how to get to know relevant people, etc. Competence development can be either initiated by the mentor, but can also be something that the institutional contact person or the host unit more generally can help with. Social networking in the workplace is, of course, something that is done at the host unit. But like the University of Oslo, we also have various initiatives on a central level. And another thing, actually, in SAR Norway, we have twice a year, we have a meeting of all the SAR institutions, so the SAR scholars can meet across the institutions as well. Safety and well-being is very important. And when it comes to mental and physical well-being, of course, first we think, how can it be well? How can it be good? But also sometimes there are challenges. And we will actually have a meeting next week with all our host units at the University of Oslo to discuss this topic, because we think we should be more systematic in how to relate to this, not just do it on a one-by-one basis. So for the academic mentor, I think the main things to think of is how the scholar can get to know the professional environment, understand how the work is going on. It can be very different from at home. Discuss how material that the scholar had from before could be used, and also what are the long-term goals of the scholar and how can these be reached, how to prepare for the next steps. And for all of this, I think it's a really good thing if the mentor and the researcher can make a research plan or professional plan for the time the scholar will be there. This can be, of course, different depending on so many factors that come in, but it can be about further research. Is it relevant to publish? Is it relevant to teach? Is it possible to be included in some ongoing research projects or applications for new research? Are there courses the scholar will need? Do the university have a career planning program? Maybe you could join some of the programs already going on at university. For example, we have sometimes had the SAR scholars joining a mentorship program for female scholars. That could be relevant, things like that. And then for the mentor, I think it's always good to remember that there might be some special concerns to take into account with the SAR scholar. For example, it is important, of course, to listen to the scholar about needs and also resources that the scholar is bringing. And of course, this is maybe the same for other scholars as well, of course, but maybe have some extra focus on this. And then they are, as other international scholars, coming from other systems, other countries, and there might be some differences in the academic culture that it's necessary to understand. And then one thing that can be challenging is that mostly when you hire someone new, it's to fill a gap in the host unit, either in a research project or elsewhere. And this is not the case often for the SAR scholar. So you have to find a good way to include the person, even though there's not a gap to fill. And then about coming from a different setting, I think this can be seen, for example, many places in the Middle East. There's so much focus on teaching that there's little time for publishing. Also, many scholars have little experience with externally funded projects and publications. And there is always a need to build network, but at the same time, you need to be careful when it comes to identity, etc. This can be a challenge. Maybe we will hear more about this later on. Mental health issues, I mentioned it already, and family concerns and worries and stress about the future. All this can take away the focus of the scholar. And then finally, to mention that, of course, everything that is done during the time that the scholar is at the institution is preparing for the next, should be preparing for the next steps, because there is, whatever happens after, there will be some next steps. And if you can be better equipped, that would be very good. So some alternatives is return to the home country, maybe get a position in academia in this country or another one. It's possible to apply for positions outside academia. Sometimes it's possible to obtain external funding, for example, through MSCA. And it's possible to see if there's another SAR position at another institution. And finally, it is possible to apply for asylum, but that doesn't mean that you, I mean, you will still need to look for work. So that's some of the next steps possible. So this was a very quick view from an institutional contact person. And now I think we'll hear more from the people who are actually involved in the research situation.
Thank you so much, Marit. We do have time for one question, if there is such one. Yes.
Actually, it is not a question, it is just a comment. We are all here representatives of countries that also those online that are members of Euraccess network. When it comes to integration of the refugee researcher or researcher at risk that is hosted in our institution, don't forget that Euraccess contact points play exactly this role. Also, Euraccess have a lot of tools that could be used in this regard. This is a mentoring program. It is a global one that could be used for preparation in advance before coming in place. Also, after coming in place. Some of our organizations even use this mentoring program for internal needs. This is a tool that is available on Euraccess portal under the researcher page, career development page. Also, generally, the Euraccess contact points are services oriented and recently to personalized service oriented. So it is kind of the right place to address the non-scientific mentor to any Euraccess contact point if you have one at your organization. If you don't have, we have recent formation of Euraccess hubs that is actually a group of specialists on European level from different countries that could help other organizations that do not have Euraccess contact point. So this is it. We also have an integrational program in the local labor market, which is very small, 200,000 euro for 6 months. So these 200,000 euro are spread most probably among 25 researchers that could apply, that already have an asylum or are based just coming in the country like Ukrainian with temporary protection. So those could have this average monthly salary for the country for 6 months working in a museum, in a library, in an NGO for integration in the local market and stabilization at the first point. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Actually, our International Staff Mobility Office is also the Euraccess point at the University of Oslo. So I think we're using some of these services. But I think it's really good that this is also available for those who are not so active in the Euraccess. Thank you very much for this comment.
It's a good reminder. Thank you, Svetlana. So now we'll hand over the word to Francesca Helm.
Thank you. I'm just sharing my screen. Second. So I'm speaking for myself, but also Professor Claudia Padovani at the University of Padova, with whom we've been coordinating SAR Italy activities here at the University of Padova, and she provided input on this. But much of it has already been said by Marit, so it'll be a repetition of much of what you've heard, but perhaps with some examples. So kind of in terms of arrival, preparation, and stay, academic mentorship should always go together, we feel, with administrative and bureaucratic mentorship, as well as social mentorship. And by here we mean that, for example, in our department of political science at the University of Padova, we do have an administrative person who is kind of responsible for helping on many of the issues together with the International Relations Office. We have academic, recently we've kind of split the role between academic mentor, who is subject specific, kind of so very strongly related to the academic discipline of the scholar who we're hosting currently, and then academic mentorship in a more general role, which Claudia and I have taken on in terms of creating opportunities for socialization within the department. So, you know, organizing often when a scholar arrives, organizing some kind of welcome party and other events where colleagues socialize. And also this idea of orientation in the department and within the university. Again, as Marit said, you know, coming from different university systems, it can be difficult, very difficult to understand how the university and how departments actually work. And so just, you know, sitting down, having conversations, explaining certain kind of things that we very much take for granted. When you've been working in a university, in a department for, you know, 10, 20 years, then everything is so familiar, you forget how disorienting things can be. One way also is by inviting the scholars to come to classes, even just to observe, even if they're not teaching a course, but to observe or to participate in seminars and courses, research workshops and conferences, even if not directly related to their discipline. It's a way of kind of seeing and observing how the university work, how interactions between colleagues are and between colleagues and students. And I think it's a nice way of getting to know a little bit the university. Also, again, Marit said, opportunities for learning within the university. So we did, Esther Gallo and other colleagues in the SAR Italy group did a survey of scholars and you know what they feel is important for themselves. And language courses is one of the most important. So both Italian language here in Italy, but also English language for teaching, English for academic writing, are very important. But also, you know, libraries offer courses on, you know, systems also for referencing, for searching, professional development, such as teaching for learning. So, you know, there are a lot of professionalizing experiences for teaching through English. Again, this is something in Italy which is growing, but also, you know, more active learning, student-centered teaching. So, you know, those communications aren't always immediately visible, at least in our institution. The scholar may not be on all the mailing lists. So making these opportunities available, there are also opportunities to get to know other colleagues, particularly the professional development courses. It's a really good way to kind of make contact with other colleagues in the department. And then also, you know, access to research funding was mentioned by the scholars. So, you know, there may be national funding programs or the European funding programs, or even, you know, within the university, opportunities for small research funding, which again are not immediately perhaps available or transparent to scholars. Support with publishing, I said, you know, academic writing, you know, peer reviewing, so reviewing articles together, translation. So recently a colleague translated into Italian a paper that a hosted scholar had written, and this allowed for the publication of the article in a journal that is important for the national context, at least. So there are many ways, and also the funding for translation of articles, you know, sometimes available through departments, but not always immediately accessible to the scholar. Also understanding which journals are important. In Italy, you know, we have for the Italian academic system, you know, there's certain journals are more important than others. So also navigating this and, you know, indicating important journals which might be useful and the scholar might not be aware of. Access to funding and also funding for mobility. This is also important. The scholarships here don't necessarily provide that funding. So it's important for us to find further resources within the department to allow for mobility of the scholar. And then paying attention to security issues. Again, you know, we do have a procedure when scholars arrive, but then again, this is something that's important at the departmental level and also with other colleagues. And I think, you know, also raising awareness of this amongst the department is important. And, you know, continuously updating and having conversations about this with the scholar. Preparing for after, again, as Marit said, it is important to start this, you know, early on, because this will be an important part, and also stress for the scholar while in the country. So obviously developing the curriculum vitae, there are different formats which may be, you know, preferred for different settings. What is relevant to include, for example, in the Italian context isn't always, you know, it might be different from other contexts. Also information about national and European academic systems. So there is, you know, Euraccess, which has important information. Understanding the Italian academic system, again, it isn't easy. So that really needs, you know, a lot of sessions of explaining how it actually works, how recruitment works, how progression works. Again, we think our systems are transparent, but they're really not. In terms of the possibility for careers outside of academia, we've recently been collaborating with Switzerland, with SAR Sweden, so with Sarah and Carolina. And this is recently, we just finished this kind of second cycle of seminars about rebuilding careers in exile. And we organized this, you know, professional development, bringing together SAR scholars in Italy and in Sweden about rethinking careers in the international cooperation sector. So, you know, thinking about the competences and the knowledge and transversal competences that many scholars bring. We organized meetings with various international organizations and also NGOs, partly online, but partly in Rome. And this was found to be a valuable opportunity. But, you know, there are other professional development workshops, perhaps within institutional settings, or also outside. Also contacting the University Careers Service is important. And then it's always important, you know, to think about the benefits also for, you know, for everybody involved. I think sharing knowledge amongst academic mentors within the university is important. Creating this kind of academic community of solidarity. Recently we have, so now our university has a program for scholars at risk, and that, you know, they recently published a call for funding for the second year of funding. And together with the announcement of the call, a meeting was organized for those academics who had been academic mentors for the previous round of scholars. And so providing these opportunities within the institution for academic mentors to share their experiences and learning can be very valuable, because it's passing on knowledge that, you know, academic mentors acquire. Also sharing knowledge and experience amongst the academics hosted in Italy. So, you know, or perhaps on a regional level. So organizing events or providing funding for them to organize events, to meet up, we feel is really important. And again, this funding isn't necessarily always made available, at least here in this context. But I'd also like to say, you know, in terms of personal and academic growth of, as an academic mentor, I mean, speaking for myself, how much I've learned through the few colleagues that we have hosted, the opportunities for gaining new insights on disciplinary knowledge and how other university systems work, knowledge of geopolitics and specific country contexts. I mean, you know, I really have learned so much about Afghanistan, Iran, Turkey, which I couldn't, I mean, you can learn through reading, but it's very different learning through people. And also the opportunities that this brings for the students in our community. Again, Italian academia isn't so international, so it's really important to have these encounters also with students and academics. And also for us, it's been, you know, engagement with new communities. For us, the Inspireurope community, the SAR community, with SAR Sweden. This has also been very enriching for us. And it also brings, possibilities for researching and teaching partnerships and collaborations beyond the fellowship. So, we still are in contact with scholars we've hosted. They come and participate in the Scholars at Risk seminar we run with students. We may, seek to collaborate on other initiatives. So this is important, but there's also a responsibility of continuing also, perhaps writing recommendation letters after the funding ends. And then also, again, lasting friendships. We have really built strong and powerful friendships with scholars. And I think, this mutual learning and friendship is also very important to emphasize. So I think I'll stop here.
Thank you so much, Francesca. And Carolina told me that there is a question from the Zoom room.
Yes, there is a question from Peter, and it is as follows. Many of the discussed issues are common to many groups of scholars, academics, and students. Is there any efforts to harmonize among such initiatives? For example, the Pride Network, or each initiative aims to reinvent their own wheel. So are there like joint efforts to these groups or not?
Is the question for me? Yes. I mean, I didn't. Carolina,
Yeah, I think it could be to both you and Marit.
I mean, for us at an institutional level, there are various scattered initiatives, but and we try to coordinate them, but actually it's quite difficult. In terms of SAR Italy, we have kind of shared knowledge, shared experience, and developed a guide for hosting scholars with some information on academic mentoring as well. But yeah, this is kind of on a local and national level. So we're trying to, and we really believe that actually through the work we're doing with the hosted scholars, we will kind of also improve the situation for visiting international students and scholars, because actually there isn't so much in place at the moment. So I think it can be beneficial to all the communities. Marit.
Yeah, I can say that in the institution, I think we're really trying to now see more how we can include the SAR scholars also in other, let's say, career development programs and other programs like that, the teaching, university teaching programs, etc., where this is relevant. On the national and international level, I will say that the fact that we have national sections of institutions who are involved in this work, and also a lot of good cooperation between the different countries, I think this also contributes to learning. And then, of course, between what is exactly for SARS or researchers at risk and what is for other researchers, I think we can be even better at seeing how we can cross-fertilize.
Yes, thank you. We did actually get another question or comment here in Berlin. So I'll invite that in, but we have to keep it short because we have another speaker also.
I just wanted to add to that question, because from the Marie Curie Alumni Association, that the Inspireurope Fellows are eligible to join the Marie Curie Alumni Association. And many of the issues that refugee researchers and displaced fellows experience are very similar to the sort of issues that internationally mobile researchers experience: mental health, career prospects, dealing with academic systems that are different from the ones that they were previously accustomed to. So I think these are many issues that are exactly the same issues that we experience within our network. And kind of, I think we have, from the very beginning, we've been very open to including the researchers at risk within our activities. So I think I can only kind of add that to the and say that we are open to working with Inspireurope in the future as we have before.
That's a great invitation. Thank you.